Hello my lovelies, welcome to this new video. I am so excited because today I'm going to share with you the ultimate perfect SPF guide. All you need to know before you buy your next SPF. Okay, so what is an SPF, or what does SPF actually protect against? So there are different radiations and lights that SPF act against. The most common ones being ultraviolet lights such as UVA and UBV. UVA with an A stands for aging, responsible for aging, all the wrinkles and all the things that most women we don't want to get. Let's just admit it. UBV with B stands for burning, so responsible for making you really red and for making your skin basically burnt. We also have protection against visible light or blue light, which comes from devices such as computers, phones, smartphones, iPads, and so on. And there's also infrared light. The main thing that you need to look out for, and the minimum that you need to be looking for an SPF, is that it has both protection against UVV and UVA, because those are the main risk and the more damaging lights to our skin. Okay, so let's talk about the level of protection that SPFs provide. So typically you will find SPF 15, SPF 30 and SPF 50. You can also find SPF 40 or SPF 20, that can also happen, but these are the three most common ones. By the way, there is no more protection than SPF 50, like that is the maximum protection. These percentages only stand for the protection against UVB, not UVA. We're gonna talk about UVA protection in a minute. So let's break out that myth, okay, that SPF 30 is the double as SPF 15 and SPF 50 is the double as SPF 30. Actually, no. There's very little difference between those three. SPF 15 filters 93% of the UVB. SPF 30 filters 97%, and SPF 50 filters 98%. As you can see, the difference between SPF 30 and SPF 50 is 1%. Not a lot. So it's really up to you. I would always recommend to use SPF 50 because it's the best protection, so why not doing it, right? Okay, and now let's talk about the UVA protection. So how do we know that our SPF protects us from UVA? Typically in the UK and in the European Union, this will be appearing on your product. So your product will tell you if it's protected against UVA. So it will literally appear. It will literally appear on the product. So I'm going to show you this one. Hopefully you can see here UVB and UVA. All right. So because the percentage does not really tell us about how much it filters of UVA, what you need to look out for is for the star rating. So your sunscreen is gonna have PA and like some stars. So the maximum protection for UVA will be 5 stars. Hopefully you can see here PA plus 4 stars. This is a very, very high protection against UVA, so the maximum being 5, but 4 it's still absolutely fine. And now we're gonna cover the different kind of SPFs that you can find. So the most common sort of division of SPF is going to be a chemical SPF and a physical or a mineral SPF. Now let's talk about the chemical SPFs. So the chemical SPFs are using chemical filters, and they allow the UV rays to come into the skin. So they actually don't block them. They come into the skin and then they get rid of it. So it produces a heat in the skin. So you will feel when you're using a chemical sunscreen and you are exposing your skin to the sun, that you're gonna feel slightly warm, or that your skin is gonna become maybe a little bit red as well. So if you have, for example, conditions like rosacea, or if your skin is very sensitive, I wouldn't recommend that you use a chemical SPF. Another thing to consider with chemical SPFs, it obviously has some chemical filters, and there have been lots of studies concerning the safety of these chemical filters and whether there could be any potential risks to our health. And there are some results that indicate that they could be potentially damaging, and there are some results that indicate that it's not a problem, but the discussion is there. So it's good that you know, and it's entirely up to you if you want to take that risk, so to say. On the other hand, you have the mineral SPFs. Those SPFs are usually free from chemical filters. Sometimes there are SPFs that contain both, so be sure to know what you're buying and look at the ingredient list. So the main component of the mineral SPF is going to be zinc oxide or titanium oxide. These two ingredients are also very helpful ingredients for the skin, and especially they work really well with sensitive skin types, and they work really well with acne prone skin types and oily skin types. So that is a good advantage of a mineral or physical SPF. In the contrary to the chemical SPF, a physical SPF is literally blocking the UV rays. So it doesn't allow the rays to penetrate. They directly go out. That's kind of the main comparison between the two, apart from obviously the ingredient list. It also does not really generate that heat on the skin, so that's why I would really recommend that you go for this if you have sensitive skin and if you have condition like rosacea, because you don't want anything that will generate heat into your skin. There are though some disadvantages to this type of sunscreen, and it's generally that they tend to be very thick, so they're difficult to spread out. The chemical SPFs are super easy, they slide down, and also a really big thing to consider is that most of them really leave like a white mark behind, most mineral SPFs. So when typically, and you remember maybe when you were kids, that your mom would apply SPF on you and you would look like a ghost, that's a mineral SPF, so you would look really white. Unfortunately, they tend to leave that white shield on it. Some of them have a tint, so that is like, I love tinted sunscreens. That's what I would recommend if you don't want to have that ugly white shield behind. And I'm sure there are SPFs out there that are going to be less thick, though it is difficult to find a good mineral SPF that is not thick and that also doesn't leave the white mark. So I'm yet kind of discovering what the best mineral SPF would be for me, and once I find it, I'm gonna share it with you guys. Alright, so now that we covered the basics about the SPF, I just wanted to touch upon a few general misconceptions about SPF that I hope is going to make life a little bit easier for you when it comes to choosing your SPF and when it comes to correct usage. So is my moisturizing morning cream that has SPF incorporated enough, yes or not? Usually not, because the main component of this cream is not going to be the protection against the SPF. Also, these creams have usually very low protection, and I dare to say that a lot of them don't protect against UVA as well, which is the ray that stands for aging. So I would always recommend to use a separate SPF. Of course, if you live in a Nordic country, or if you don't get a lot of sun exposure, it could be alright to use your moisturizing cream with SPF, but it all depends on your circumstances. So in general, I would recommend always to use a separate SPF, especially during the summer months is an absolute must. I think that SPF is probably our most valuable tool that we have for anti-aging. Before doing any, Botox fillers, hyaluronic acids and stuff like that, just use an SPF. That's basically the prevention, rather than, the kind of correction part, which would come after you have already the sun damage. What if I use multiple SPFs? For example, I use my moisturizing cream with SPF and then I use another SPF on top. Will that build it up? Like if I use SPF 30 plus SPF 50, would it make SPF 80? No, that doesn't exist. SPF 80 doesn't exist, and the highest SPF that you put on your skin, that's the one that is going to stand for. Another myth is, or like a misconception, is whether we should be wearing sunscreen indoors. The truth is that both rays can definitely penetrate through glass and windows. So even if we are indoors, we should be using our SPFs, especially if we are receiving a lot of light. So during this time of working from home, I would recommend that you keep applying your SPF. How much SPF we should apply? So we should typically be applying half a teaspoon of SPF into our face, and we usually don't apply enough SPF, and it's very important to apply enough, because even if your SPF is 50, if you don't apply enough, then you're not gonna have protection 50. That's why it's always a good idea to go for the higher protection, because we actually never apply that. I hope that this was useful. If you have any more questions about SPF, anything else that you would like to know, or if you would like to hear any of my recommendations, please leave a comment and let me know so that I can create new content for you on that topic.